Malcolm X was born as Malcolm Little on May 19, 1925, in Omaha, Nebraska. His mother, Louise Norton Little, was a homemaker occupied with the family's 8 children. His father, Earl Little, was an outspoken Baptist minister and avid supporter of Black nationalist leader Marcus Garvey. Earl's civil rights activism prompted death threats from their white supremacist organization, the Black Legion, forcing the family to relocate twice before Malcolm's 4th birthday. Regardless of the Littles' efforts to elude the Legion, in 1929, their Lansing, Michigan home was burned to the ground. 2 years later, Earl's body was found lying across the town's trolley tracks. Police ruled both incidents as accidents, but the Littles were certain that members of the Black Legion were responsible. Louise suffered emotional breakdowns several years after the death of her husband and was committed to a mental institution, while her children were split up among various foster homes and orphanages. Eventually, Malcolm, as a young adult, moved back to Boston. In 1946, he was arrested and convicted on burglary charges and sentenced to 10 years in prison. He was paroled for good behavior after 7 years. Malcolm decided to further his education, and it was during this time period that his brother, Reginald, would convince him to convert to the Muslim religion. Intrigued, Malcolm began to study the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, leader of the Nation of Islam. Muhammad taught that white society actively worked to keep African Americans from empowering themselves and achieving political, economic, and social success. Among the other goals, the Nation of Islam fought for a state of their own, separate from one inhabited by white people. By the time he was paroled in 1952, Malcolm was a devoted follower with the new surname X. Intelligent and articulate, Malcolm was appointed as a minister and national spokesman for the Nation of Islam. Elijah Muhammad also charged him with establishing new mosques in cities such as Detroit, Michigan, and Harlem. Malcolm X became the minister of Temple No. 7 in Harlem and Temple No. 11 in Boston, while also founding new temples in Harvard and Philadelphia. Articulate, passionate, and a naturally gifted and inspirational orator, Malcolm X exhorted blacks to cast off the shackles of racism by any means necessary, including violence. He spoke, "You don't have a peaceful revolution. You don't have a turn-the-cheek revolution. There's no such thing as a non-violent revolution." Such militant proposals, a violent revolution to establish an independent black nation, won Malcolm X large numbers of followers as well as many fierce critics. Due primarily to the efforts of Malcolm X, the Nation of Islam grew from a mere 400 members at the time he was released from prison in 1952 to 40,000 members by 1960. By the early 1960s, Malcolm X had emerged as a leading voice of a radicalized wing of the civil rights movement, presenting an alternative to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s vision of a racially integrated society achieved by peaceful means. Dr. King himself was highly critical of what he viewed as Malcolm X's destructive approach. "I feel that Malcolm has done himself and our people a great disservice," King once said. Philosophical differences with King were one thing. A rupture with Elijah Muhammad proved much more traumatic. In 1963, Malcolm X became deeply disillusioned when he learned that his hero and mentor had violated many of his own teachings, most flagrantly by carrying on many extramarital affairs. Muhammad had, in fact, fathered several children out of wedlock. Malcolm's feelings of betrayal, combined with Muhammad's anger over Malcolm's insensitive comments regarding the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, led Malcolm X to lead the Nation of Islam in 1964. That same year, Malcolm X embarked on an extended trip through North Africa and the Middle East. The journey proved to be both a political and spiritual turning point in his life. He learned to place the American civil rights movement within the context of global anti-colonial struggle, embracing socialism and Pan-Africanism. Malcolm X also made the Hajj, the traditional Muslim pilgrimage to Mecca, Saudi Arabia, during which he converted to traditional Islam and again changed his name, this time to El Hajj Malik El Shabazz. After his epiphany at Mecca, Malcolm X returned to the United States, less angry and more optimistic about the prospects for peaceful resolution to America's racial problems. He once spoke, "The true brotherhood I had seen had influenced me to recognize that anger can blind human vision. America is the first country that can actually have a bloodless revolution." Tragically, just as Malcolm X appeared to be embarking on an ideological transformation with the potential to dramatically alter the course of the civil rights movement, he was assassinated. On the evening of February 21st, 1965, at the Audubon Ballroom in Manhattan, where Malcolm X was about to deliver a speech, 3 gunmen rushed the stage and shot him 15 times at point-blank range. Malcolm X was pronounced dead on arrival at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital shortly after. He was 39 years old. The 3 men convicted of the assassination were all members of the Nation of Islam: Talmadge Hayer, Norman Butler, and Thomas Johnson. In the immediate aftermath of Malcolm X's death, commentators largely ignored his recent spiritual and political transformation and criticized him as a violent rabble-rouser. However, Malcolm X's legacy as a civil rights hero was cemented by the posthumous publication in 1965 of the autobiography of Malcolm X, as told to Alex Haley. At once a harrowing chronicle of American racism, an unsparing self-criticism, and an inspiring spiritual journey, the book, transcribed by the acclaimed author of Roots, instantly recast Malcolm X as one of the great political and spiritual leaders of modern times. Named by Time magazines as one of 10 required reading nonfiction books of all time, the autobiography of Malcolm X has truly enshrined Malcolm X as a hero to subsequent generations of radicals and activists. Perhaps Malcolm X's greatest contribution to society was underscoring the value of a truly free populace by demonstrating the great lengths to which human beings will go to secure their freedom. Power in defense of freedom is greater than power in behalf of tyranny and oppression, he stated, because power, real power, comes from our conviction, which produces action, uncompromising action.